Hey, welcome back, Strength Labbers. All right, topic of the day is salmon. A question that I get a lot is, should I be eating salmon? And how often should I be eating it? Because 2 to 3 times a week seems difficult. Seems like a challenge to get that much fish in. I would agree. I think it's about 2 to 3 times too much. I don't recommend eating salmon at all, in fact. The problem with salmon is, well, one, let's start with the most obvious problem with salmon is it's an animal protein. Animal proteins don't have much for micronutrients and fiber in them. But in this case, this is also a very high calorie, high pollutant animal tissue that we're talking about here. So not only are you looking at about 400 calories, give or take, depends on what size and who's eating it, how much of it they're going to eat. 400 calories just in the meat itself. It's a lot of calories, and that doesn't include everything else that you're going to consume and beverages that you're going to consume for that meal either. But this is a high pollutant tissue. It doesn't matter where you got the fish, the source of the fish. It doesn't matter if it was the Atlantic. The Atlantic is full of mercury and PCBs and any other nonsense from the environment in which it grew up and where it lived. And then if you get the farm caught, you're looking at growth hormones and antibiotics and pesticide runoff and anything else they might have put into that overcrowded population of fish that they're basically bearing to feed you. So you've got those issues, but you've also got the omega-3 issue that gets brought up within this conversation. Well, where am I going to get my omega-3s if I'm not eating salmon? Well, the thing you want to understand about salmon is that it got its omega-3s from someplace else. It's not the original source of omega-3s. So what I advise is that you go to the original source and skip the dirty fish. So that original source is photosynthesis. Photosynthesis in green things, plants. That's where it came from in the first place. Most of the fish and the seafood that runs around having some omega-3s in its tissue got it from plankton and algae. So what the salmon typically do is eat smaller fish, and those fish ate plankton and algae and accumulated those tissues and other pollutants as well. But, also when the salmon was younger, it ate its own source of plankton as well. But this is just a dirty way to get omega-3s. And on top of the fact, omega-3s aren't that important. Omega-3s are important only because we don't get any. And the reason we don't get any are twofold. One, they're stripped from most products because they're just that perishable. It ruins shelf life. So they strip it, and they used to put in trans fats, partially hydrogenated oils. That's where that man-made fat came from in the first place. It was by stripping out the things that were perishable. Omega-3s would be one of them. We don't need very many omega-3s in our diet. It's a very small ratio compared to, say, an omega-6, which is also an essential fatty acid, but nobody talks about that one because we get plenty of that in cheeseburgers and french fries and other things that aren't good for us. But here's the deal. If you're eating really well, a whole food plant-based diet like I recommend, you're not having omega-6 fight for the same fat receptors that omega-3 is fighting for. So when you have all the omega-3 stripped out of your diet, or you don't have a good source of it, the omega-6s are going to take up most of those fat receptors, or you're not going to get enough omega-3 in the first place because of the fact you're not consuming it. So all of that is alleviated by simply going to the source, eating whole food plant-based items, leaving salmon exactly where it is off your menu, and then you also don't need to supplement because you don't have any reason to supplement. You're getting omega-3s naturally in green things from photosynthesis in the right amount, and you're not taking in too many omega-6s that is, because you're eating a healthy diet. So there's not this huge competition for the fat receptors in your body where the omega-3s get left out. And if you're eating a lot of processed items, there's no omega-3s in processed items unless they purposely put it back in, which already tells you it's not a health item. If they have to add nutrients to an item in which you're buying or drinking, it is a completely worthless item in the first place. You shouldn't have to put nutrition back into something. That is a telltale sign that you're consuming the wrong item, whether it's a cereal that's been fortified or milk that's been fortified with vitamin D. That's nonsense. You shouldn't have to be putting anything back into something. That shows you how stripped of something it is if they have to add nutrition back to it again. But I think we've covered the answer, or at least covered salmon. I wouldn't be consuming salmon, and I've given you the reasons why. All right, thanks for tuning in, and there'll be more videos to come. And if you like what you're seeing, hey, if you don't like what you're saying, I can take the criticism. Thumbs up or subscribe, or make a note at the bottom of the page. Get into the conversation. Thanks for watching.